Exactly 1 month ago, the Trump administration abducted and imprisoned a Maryland man named Kilmar Abrego Garcia. They flew him and hundreds of other men to a prison in El Salvador. The government has since called imprisoning Mr. Abrego Garcia, at least, a mistake. 5 days ago, the Supreme Court, in a unanimous 9-0 decision, ordered the Trump administration that they needed to bring him back. They needed to, quote, facilitate Mr. Abrego Garcia's return to the U.S. Well, they haven't done so yet. And today in court, a federal judge in Maryland just excoriated Trump administration lawyers over the administration's refusal to comply with that order, the administration's refusal to go get Mr. Abrego Garcia, or at least prove that they're trying to. The judge, quote, just so everyone knows where my current thinking is, Mr. Abrego Garcia has already won his injunctive relief. It was affirmed not only by the Fourth Circuit, but by the Supreme Court. We're here today to talk about the scope of the remedy, which means that while expeditiousness is of the utmost importance, because it is a fact now of this record that every day Mr. Abrego Garcia is detained in the prison in El Salvador, that is a day of further irreparable harm. At the same time, if not this court, then who to engage in process? It's process that is in the roots of our Constitution. So we have to give process to both sides, but we're going to move. There will be no tolerance for gamesmanship or grandstanding. We will talk about the contours of this, but that's where I am right now. At one point, the Trump administration lawyer argued about the meaning of the word facilitate, calling it a term of art within immigration law. The judge said in response, quote, I'm not even sure what you mean, but as a factual matter, I do need evidence in this regard, because to date, what the record shows is that nothing has been done, nothing. I've asked for daily reports, daily, by individuals with personal knowledge, and I've gotten very little information of any value. Trump administration lawyer, Your Honor, I think what we have submitted reflects that there have been significant steps. In particular, we cited to this issue was raised at the highest possible level. We cited to this issue was raised at the highest possible levels yesterday. It was raised in the Oval Office between two heads of state, between the President of the United States and the President of El Salvador. The issue was specifically discussed. The judge, a reporter asked a question. The defendants have never responded to the question, what steps have you taken? The plaintiff is asking, why don't the defendants just ask, you will release him? I've got no answer on that. And in response to this notion that what happened in the Oval Office is satisfactory, that's not before the court. I mean, you include a transcript. I don't know if what this transcript is supposed to be assisting me in. But the bottom line is, it was a very simple directive. My question that the high court squarely affirmed, I can ask, what have you done? I've got nothing. I've got no real response, nor have I gotten any legitimate legal justification for not answering the question. That's why we need to move to the next step. Because in fairness, if you're not going to answer the questions that the plaintiffs put within the scope of my order, then you will justify why. You will cite privilege, you'll follow the rules, I will make a determination. That is what we do in this House. That is the most fair I can be. She said, and I don't consider what happened yesterday, meaning in the Oval Office, as really evidence before this court. Lawyers for Mr. Abrego Garcia then asked the judge to hold the Trump administration in contempt of court over their failure to comply with the court's orders. The judge did not rule out finding them in contempt. She said first she wants to make the Trump administration submit evidence and sit for depositions, and quickly. Trump administration's lawyer voiced his concerns about scheduling those depositions quickly. He said, quote, Your Honor, I don't know right now their availability. I assume that can be arranged in a 7-day period, but I can't say that conclusively. Whereupon the judge said this, well, cancel vacation. Cancel other appointments. I'm usually pretty good about things like that in my courtroom, but not this time. So I expect all hands on deck. It won't be a convenience issue, that's what I'm saying. I will be flexible if you need to accommodate depositions, whether it's in the courthouse because you have the court available to call balls and strikes as the depositions go on. I'm going to be available. If you need to do it at odd hours or weekends, I'm also available. Trump administration lawyer, we will move expeditiously, Your Honor. Judge, okay, I appreciate that. After today's hearing, that Maryland judge put in writing her order requiring the Trump administration to turn over evidence of its efforts to facilitate Mr. Abrego Garcia's return home. The judge spelled out an expedited schedule. She is instructing Abrego Garcia's lawyers to submit their requests for evidence by tomorrow evening. Those requests can pertain to, quote, the current physical location and custodial status of Abrego Garcia, what steps, if any, defendants have taken to facilitate his immediate return to the U.S., and what additional steps the Trump administration will take and when to facilitate his return. The Trump administration must reply to those requests no later than 5 p.m. on Monday. Mr. Abrego Garcia's lawyers may also depose at least 4 members of the Trump administration on this matter by next Wednesday. Joining us now is Rena Gandhi. She's a partner at Murray Osorio Immigration Law Firm. She's one of the attorneys representing Mr. Abrego Garcia in this matter. Ms. Gandhi, I really appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So we got this transcript right before the show started tonight, and we have been sort of going through it and pulling from it as we can. Let me ask you if I missed any important details or mischaracterized anything of what happened in today's hearing.
No, I think that is a very good summary. Those are the highlights that I certainly took away. No, I think that was accurate.
What do you expect to happen next over the course of this next week in terms of what is now a court-ordered but not yet manifest, order to have your client come home?
Well, I do believe that we will be able to get some answers from these very people who wrote these affidavits, providing us not very much before. I think when confronted with very specific questions where they can't just file a report saying we're not required to say anything, will hopefully return results. They can't hide the ball here anymore. And this hearing today really helped us move towards bringing Mr. Abrego Garcia back home.
Are we now in a situation, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm just observing these things as a lay observer here, but with the Trump administration and the president himself asserting that it is not within the power of the U.S. government to bring your client home, that it's up to El Salvador because they operate the prison where the U.S. is paying to hold him. Is that assertion from the president and from the Trump administration essentially wholly outside these legal proceedings now and sort of beside the point? It seems as if the judge is proceeding on the evidence that's been put forward to the court and not on the basis of these sort of political statements that have been made by the president and others to excuse what the administration isn't doing.
Well, that's precisely right. Before the court, no evidence has been presented. There's no reason, no argument for why they can't at least show what they have done and what they plan to do. Unfortunately, I think it's because the answer is they haven't been planning to do anything, but hopefully with the next 2 weeks, we'll be able to get some real answers.
Rena Gandhi, a partner at Murray Osorio Immigration Law Firm, one of the attorneys representing Kilmar Abrego Garcia. The plight of your client here has captured the mind and the heart of the country in a lot of ways. Most of the people who have heard his name for the first time here will never ever know him as a person, but what the government has tried to do in his name has absolutely galvanized people to recognize the scale of what this administration's ambitions are toward destruction of human rights and civil rights. Your representation of him is a real service to the country. Thank you.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
We'll be right back.